We need to put that close to your face because you mumble.
Shut the fuck up.
That's not mumbling. Good job.
I hate you.
That's okay.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, reading A Clash of Kings. As always, I'm Zach. Sitting here next to me is my older brother, Nate.
That's me, the oldest.
I put emphasis on that because lately people have been saying that I rib on Nate.
You're a bully. You're a big bully.
I'm a bully older brother to Nate, and let me make it clear that every ounce of scorn that pours from my very pores for this character here next to me is well-deserved through a lifetime of documented bullshittery.
Documented? Where's these documents? I don't see any evidence.
We'll go get my diaries. Anyway, we are two brothers, clearly, who like to read A Song of Ice and Fire and talk about it. And so if this is your first time listening, we are full spoiler. We'll ruin everything. All of it. The whole book series.
Everybody dies in the Battle of Blackwater except Davos, who clings to a rock and makes friends with seagulls.
I mean, no one really important dies in Blackwater.
I guess.
I mean,
true,
like
but...
Mathis and Davos' children.
Yeah, Davos' children, like that's.
Oh, you didn't even fucking remember until I brought them up. But if you've listened before, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. That's cool. What up?
Hey.
And so, if you joined us last episode, we were reading Tyrion 5.
Yeah, and he's been exposed. Which was his intention. He did a lot of shit. He didn't just confront Cersei. Where did he start? Fuck.
He was down.
With the pyromancers.
He was checking out the wildfire and getting some info there, learning how they'll be used essentially, and learning that essentially they could have 10,000 pots. So
yeah. Then he intercepted Sir Cleo's fray at the Gate of the Gods, I believe it was, summoned there by Jacelyn Bywater, his new Lord Commander of the City Guard.
Yeah, he read Robb's terms and figured they wouldn't do, and got Cleo all rested up and everything. Went back to his solar, and Cersei was there. She was pissed that he had
ignored her summons, and then he was ghosting the fuck out of her.
And she was pissed also that he was giving offered Myrcella to the Dornish. And so Pycelle was revealed as the little worm that he is.
That old bitch.
But Tyrion and Cersei hashed it out, and Cersei began crying because she doesn't want her daughter being shipped away. And Tyrion tries to console her, but it doesn't end so well.
He reveals the letter from Robb, which completely alters her focus away from Myrcella, which means good news for him. Yeah. Yay. But this episode...
Get wrecked.
Dang it. Bitch. I did Zach.
Dumbass.
We are reading Bran 3, the third point of view chapter in Clash of Kings from Lord Brandon Stark.
That's what 3 means, yep.
Oh, okay.
So, we open this chapter.
Well, how about we start with where Bran was last chapter?
I mean, if you really want.
Since we've done it every single episode before this.
Show a little consistency.
Exactly.
Go ahead. What happened in Bran's last chapter?
Shit. Let's see. There was some Freys there, and there were some Starks there, and I don't remember.
The Freys were bullying Bran and Hodor, and Lewin put a fucking stop to that shit.
Oh, yeah, I remember
And
that.
Bran had to play the Lord as people were arriving for the Harvest Festival, and I was pretty harsh on Lewin and Roderick for not supporting Lady Hornwood the way they should have, and Bran really hated it and wasn't having it, and was having a lot of these wolf dreams.
Right, is that where he saw Osha in the...
That's where he saw naked Osha, and then he also had the dream and sort of recollection, because we met Sir Cole, was it? Or Sir Clayton? Who the fuck was it? His buddy that revealed to him that Stannis is now in the running.
I mean, I have my notes right
here.
Yeah, no,
I just can't remember that guy's name. But it was, somebody who was there for the Harvest Festival.
I got it here. Clay Serwyn.
Clay.
You were right. So Clay. Clayton,
reveals that Stannis is now declaring himself a king, and then Bran kind of remembers that, oh shit, Jamie Lannister threw me off a fucking balcony, and he
Whoopsie.
dreams about it. And
So this chapter picks up fairly shortly after the last point of view from him, where he is on top of Dancer, his horse, and they are well dressed, both himself and the horse, preparing to ride down the center of the Great Hall for the main feast for the Harvest Festival.
yeah, Bran wanted Summer with him, but Roderick wasn't having that. And so he does. He heads in as the doors open. He rides between the long... Don't fucking smirk at me. He rides between the long trestle tables in the Great Hall of Winterfell, and men had crowded all of the benches, and they began to rode past, calling out Stark in Winterfell.
Stark! 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 Stark!
Bran knew it wasn't for him that they cheered. It was for the harvest. It was for Robb and his victories. It was his lord father and his grandfather and all the Stark kings before him. But still, he swelled with pride. Until he reaches the dais where Osha and Hodor are waiting, and he gets picked up.
Gets unstrapped from it.
And he makes a note that while most of the Winterfell lords have seen it before, there's a lot of new people here, and they aren't hiding their curious stares. But he's kind of over it. He's kind of over the staring.
Yeah, whatever.
And so, yeah, Osha and Hodor undo the straps and carried him to the high seat of his fathers.
Yeah, so up there, he's sitting to, I have it written down.
I would hope so.
The left was Roderick and his daughter, Bethany. Little Beth. And to his right was Rickon. Immediately beside Rickon, actually, we learn... kind of subtly, it's hard to pick up and took me forever, are the Freys. Yeah. They're actually right there next to Rickon.
Big and Little Walder. Fun note, I thought, was that Rickon's hair had gotten very long. He had refused to let anyone cut it since Mother had left. The last girl who tried had gotten bitten for her efforts.
So can I
Shaggy, he's got the shaggy hair.
I was going to say, can I just say it's very fun that Shaggy Dog's owner has the shaggy hair.
And he bites the girl who tries to cut his hair.
Now, do you think that similar, and we'll see it here, that Bran is going to slip into these waking green dreams where he's warging over, like, do you think Rickon does that? And if so, do you think when she was coming at him with these scissors to cut his hair, if he didn't slip into this and Shaggy Dog took over for a second?
I'll have a lot more to say about Rickon when Jojen meets the wolves.
Yeah.
Because he has a comment to make about Shaggy Dog, so I'll hold off on that until then. But... Rickon is to his right, and Roderick calls for quiet, and Bran rose his voice.
So, before he actually speaks, I really thought it was fun and interesting, and I got a lot to say about this little bit, that Rickon was complaining. He was like, I wanted to ride too. Yeah. And he tells Bran, I'm a better rider than you are.
You are not. Now hush.
So... do you think he is?
I think he could be.
I think he might be. Because knowing that,
well, I mean, Bran's at a disadvantage.
No, so I don't even mean now.
That's what I mean, is, I think, Arya is kind of the swordsman as well as Jon. They're kind of skilled with the weaponry, and Robb's a good leader and commander, as is Sansa. It seems to have these sort of...
I feel like
Rickon could have been good on a horse and almost Dothraki in his...
Well, very Lyanna.
Yeah.
Takes off
and
after
so,
that
I think that could be a valid claim.
And I think that it's a very, Bran knows
it's
it to
a very
be true
elder brother.
Possible.
Yeah, I'm going to shut it down right away.
You're not.
And we're never going to put you on a horse to get the chance to prove it. But yeah, Roderick calls for quiet, and Bran raises his voice, welcoming them all in the name of his brother, the King of the North. And he finishes with a huge toast, raising his goblet, and everybody toasts back. And Bran's wine was stronger than he was used to. One sip, and his head was swimming. That tripped me out for a minute. For a second, I was like, yo, did someone put something in his fucking wine?
I just think it's more, because they usually, as children, have watered down stuff. He's the fucking Lord of Winterfell. This is the Harvest Feast. I think they're I think Bran's okay to have real wine this time.
But Roderick says that he'd make Lord Eddard proud, and Lewin nods his agreement over there.
Bobs his head over there, I'm listening, and I see that. Yeah.
And the food that they get is fucking intense. Just almost a page and a half of description of this food, this bounty, this banquet.
Yeah, it just lists.
Is this supposed to contrast? Is this meant to make us think that the North is in better standing than the Lannisters with King's Landing and how starved they all are. It's almost a direct contrast of how well they're eating. Because we get the same in our next chapter with Catelyn as well. She goes and meets with Renly. They have a fucking bounty where it's straight up stated, Cat notes, clearly Highgarden hasn't been touched by this war because they're feasting and yada yada yada. Winterfell is almost the exact same. No one's really talking about it because no one's really aware how starved other people are. So I think this is meant to almost, this is Martin's way of saying, like, tricking us and saying, like, nah, the North has got this. Like, we're good. We're good.
But at the same time, look at where Arya is, seeing her in the Riverlands.
Yeah.
Like, they're eating dirt and bugs.
That's it. Everything is devastated.
Burned, and,
so
like, there's no crops.
We should, I think it's natural that we would equate a bounty of food with a richer lifestyle, people who are in better standing. So I think this is Martin's way of saying, or luring us into a false sense of security where Winterfell is a safe place. Like, they've got food, they're good. Bran is safe. He's stressed. He's worried, but he's isolated. He's away from the events that are occurring. Nothing could ever happen at Winterfell
till Theon comes around.
Until everything that's about to happen here soon. Yeah. And so only Hodor seems to be listening to the singers as he's bobbing and Hodor.
Yeah, the singers. I thought it was funny because like the musicians
Man
are
Trader,
kind of
Man Trader.
Well, I was looking for that, but no. These ones were actually brought by Lord Too Fat to Sit a Horse, Manderly, and they just get drowned out because there's so much talking and just fucking partying going
Which I think
down.
is also a funny thing because, like, at all the parties and everything, Sansa notes the singers in the South, the harps. And, like, you can hear them, where in the North it's more ravenous, it's more, noisy, it's a bunch of drunkards, singing and swearing.
Almost something you'd expect up from the Wildlands.
Exactly, yeah. And Bran, it's noted, had not wanted the phrase at the high table. But Lewin reminded him that they would soon be kin, as Robb is to marry one, and as is Arya.
Well, so the transition there was because Rickon was happily screaming down at them. So just as a reminder that Rickon gets along with these kids because he's a wild little kid that just goes crazy. But yeah,
So is there something to that, do you think, with Rickon? The fact that Rickon seems to not mind like these phrases, because we know sort of what the phrase seemed to symbolize here in Winterfell. They're kind of foreboding of their father's betrayal. So is there something in it, like, I'm just meaning, is like, there's something in the sort of savagery of the phrase.
Well, that's what
clawing and scratching.
Literally, that
to
savagery is the word
yourself
for
up the ladder to, like, get to an esteemed place in that family. Is that what appeals to Rickon? The fucking game that they play, knocking each other into the water. Is it just the hitting and knocking each other into the water?
For Rickon, yes.
It's not the politics.
No.
It's the actual act of hitting someone.
And that's something I was pointing to earlier with him, the way that he's a better rider. I think that when Rickon goes away with Osha, when he comes back, he's not going to be the TV show fucking Rickon. We see this useless lump. He's going to be a badass. He's going to be able to fight.
At the head of
he's going to be leading
Skagos,
stuff.
Cannibals,
he's
whatever.
a badass. And I think this goes to show it that it's very much that they're willing to shove and push, and it's these new kids that are willing to kind of push around. And I don't think it might necessarily be a good thing.
Well,
but I think the fact that he's able to build a relationship with people like that is more showing his ambassadorial prowess.
That's where I'm getting at with it, is I think that from the very beginning we're being shown that if there's one Stark that could survive on Skagos, it would be Rickon.
Yeah, little Rickon.
And it also seems to point to me, because I've been harping on Arya and how I think her trajectory is to devastate King's Landing and ignite the cache of wildfire. I think Rickon has a dark future as well, with coming back from Skagos if Davos manages to retrieve him or not. And I think it's being painted here, where so far we've associated him with the Crips, with this feral, almost direwolf. Out of all the others, Shaggy Dog is violent, he's unpredictable.
And it's just, which
seems to be a mirror of what Rickon is feeling.
And it's all a big part of the fact that Rickon's so young, he doesn't know how to do anything but exactly what Shaggy Dog is doing, but Shaggy Dog's a much more vicious animal.
Giant creature that can rip a man apart.
So that same paragraph, though, Lewin mentions, they're going to be your family soon. Robb is going to marry one of their aunts, and Arya one of their uncles.
Good luck with that shit.
And Bran just right away, she never will.
Nope.
Arya, not her. Nope. You're fucking dumb, Lewin. That's what he says. It was quoted in the book.
You're dense. You're dense.
But the fact that even Bran is so adamant
Arya's not
going
to do that.
No. Yeah, no. Really? I don't think so.
Yeah. Bran gets the pick of the Lord's portion of each dish that's brought out, of which there are menti. There are menti.
Menti of them.
There's venti. I'm going to get a venti mutton chop. There's plenty of these portions, but after a bit, he gets full, and he usually passes it on to another lord in a gesture of kindness that Lewin had talked to him about, which is, ooh, this is a really nice piece. You have this, my lord.
Did you put which ones he handed out?
I didn't. I did put that he offered one to sad-looking Lady Duskwood.
Yeah, that was Hornwood.
God damn it, I always want to call her Lady Duskwood.
She was given a piece of fish, as I recall. I think he sent something to Manderley, Lord Too Fat to Sit a Horse. He sent something to the Umbers and the Karstarks. And then I thought it was funny because everything that he sent to all of them, I didn't list them either.
Yeah.
Whatever he sent was nice, enticing sounding. Then to the phrase, he sent boiled beets and buttered turnips.
Yeah.
And while, there's probably people out there that enjoy their buttered turnips and others out there that love their
succulent roast.
It's not this big tasty tart or a fucking...
I also noted that he sent sweets to Hodor and Old Nan as well for no reason, but he loved them.
That I actually wrote that part down.
Yeah.
Because I think that goes to whether or not the Bran's trajectory follows what it did in the show,
of
where he's this
himself,
heartless thing. If it is, then I think Martin's putting these things in there to show he was this decent
It's going to be a tragic fall.
Yeah,
it will be more tragic of the loss of Bran. It won't just be a robot.
He doesn't, and it's because of this.
This is the
he
tie,
maintains these kinds of
ties.
No,
because I was this really took me out of it in the best of ways for a minute, where I pulled back and I was like, there's just this little and we've gotten comments on it that we always fuck up the age, so I'm gonna say Bran is 9 right now.
I'm pretty sure safe. It's older,
but whatever age he is, he's a young kid just sitting there in his father's chair, his father's
with
chair.
His father's wine goblet.
Eddard Stark with his father's wine goblet, dictating where the best portions of meat go in the Game of Thrones, essentially. But then he sees his favorite simpleton, who carries him everywhere, is just the sweetest, gentlest giant.
Honestly, currently has been his best friend since his fall.
Yeah, one of his constant companions, and Old Nan, the storyteller, the one who inflamed in him such inspiration and creativity. And so, he's just I'm going to send them the sweet tarts because I love
candies.
Them. Yeah.
Because they're my favorite
Hodor's
people
having
here.
fun with the singers, and Old Nan looks like she's about to fall asleep. So, yeah, and I think you're right that this is going to be the hinge of either it's a tragedy that we lose Bran, or this is why we don't lose Bran.
Right.
Is this very sentences like that. But below were faces Bran had never seen and some he knew.
And so again...
Jesus.
I know. So the very next paragraph, because fucking Martin with Bran's chapters is just punch after punch. But I wrote half of that paragraph and then the rest of the following one down just because I really enjoyed them because they tripped me out. They were just so crazy because it said that as he looks down on the benches below, Winterfell men mixed with small folk from the winter town, friends from the nearer holdfasts and the escorts of their lordly guests, and goes on a little bit more about that.
It's a hodgepodge, yeah.
But from there, all of a sudden, it takes this, and it's what leads into him warging here while he's sitting here. But
as a preference, because I know where we're going with this. I've experienced this feeling before.
Yeah.
Where I've been at an adult party with my parents, with my mom, my dad, whatever. And obviously there's some sort of old god magic here. But as a kid, I can recall sort of that where you're getting tired, it's late, you're ready to go, and sort of you're half awake, half asleep, kind of listening to the ambient noise of the party around you, and it all takes on this sort of surreal effect, and that's just what it made me feel of, is this is something I've almost experienced as a child, where like it's almost the scene you're in takes on a dreamlike quality. And for me, I recall it most at like Super Bowl parties when I was young. Like everybody's staying up late to watch the game, but I'm going into a food coma over on the couch. But still, I can hear people playing cards and cheering at the game, and I'm kind of aware of it, but kind of not. But now go ahead and read the
I guess
quote.
so. Yeah, he watches them from a distance, as if he still sat in the window of his bedchamber, looking down on the yards below, seeing everything, yet a part of nothing. Now, we talked a lot about comparing him to a gargoyle and watching and Crescent and all that kind of shit, and this ties directly into all that, and what he's going to become with the Three-Eyed Raven, or where we think he's going to be headed. And even here, at this party, he's just sitting above them watching, and I don't think it's...
Well, that's it. He's going down...
I think he's actually hearing what they're all saying. Like, he's actually focusing in and hearing what this conversation is. And not necessarily everything in the whole fucking room, because he's not, almighty yet, but...
because he seems to be going down the list of, like, people he's focusing on, because next he notices that Osha is down among the floor pouring ale. And a tall heart man, as she goes by, slid his hand up her skirt, and she breaks the flagon over his head to a fucking roar of laughter.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just, I notice he keeps kind of checking in on those who have significance to him. Hodor and Old Nan, Osha, Mikken, Roderick, Lewin, because fucking, it's just he's already taking on this sort of presence of Watcher, where he's in the Lord's chair, but he's almost not there, because he's so small, he's so diminutive in this little seat. But, Lord Wyman was so fat that Roderick had to command that a special chair was built for him, which I just thought was funny. But he laughed loud and often, and Bran thought that he liked him, which is interesting.
I agree.
The GNC.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, of all the people that he keeps, he's not sure why, but he thinks he likes him. He seems to be,
and that's the beauty of it, is like you almost picture like this Santa Claus type figure with him, but that's what makes me inherently suspicious. Is it's like he's a little too jovial in his laughter, like a little too outcoming with his loyalty to Robb. But Bran suddenly wishes he was anywhere but here. It's hot in here. The wool is making him itch. The wine's making his head spin. Like, he's just done with it. It was colder in the Godswood, he thinks, and soon the moon would rise, and my brother would be singing to it.
Yeah, so just like that, and damn it, Martin, he slipped into it so quick and easy.
Yeah, Shaggy Dog.
Just went from this, he was describing, the scene, how he doesn't want to be here, he wants to be there, he is there, my brother, like, it just, the way it turned so quickly in the text to make you slip into, oh shit. Now he's in...
I mean, or is that also... Do you think that's also a clue where Rickon is right now?
And maybe not right
like,
this
maybe
second.
Bran doesn't realize it, but Rickon is in there. That's Rickon, too, feeling just as trapped, just as caged, just as wanting to run as Summer does later. Like, I thought it was interesting that he straight up says, my brother will be singing to it. Like, is Rickon already there? Because he's, like... I don't know.
I don't think Rickon's there yet.
Well, could be at some point, has already been in Shaggy Dog to an extent that Bran is able to know
that he's there. I don't think Bran is aware of Rickon's
subconsciously,
there, but
like,
subconsciously,
picking up on
yes.
it, yeah. But Roderick notices that, Bran, you haven't eaten hardly anything. And Bran notes
snap back to reality.
Yeah.
There it goes.
The waking dream had been so vivid that for a moment he forgot where he was. And Bran's kind of like, oh, fuck.
But I'm so full. Like, they've brought so much food, Roderick. I can't do it anymore.
But Roderick tells him that one day, I think Roderick's a little drunk at this point, one day you will make an especially fine lord. And Bran just says, I want to be a knight.
He thinks that.
Thinks, and takes a sip from his father's goblet, thinking of the last time he had seen the man with it.
Yeah, and so he paints a super vivid picture of Game of Thrones. It was Jon's first chapter, or second chapter, something like that. Big feast.
Yeah, Robert's feast, welcoming feast to Winterfell.
Where Mance Rayder was.
Summer still reigned then, which I just love that sentence. But Uncle Benjen had been there, his brothers and sisters too. Arya had made faces while people weren't looking. Sansa had listened raptly to the songs. And Rickon had kept asking why Jon wasn't with them. And now they're all gone. It was as if some cruel god had reached down a giant hand and swept them all away.
All away.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But he notes now that there were also new men on the benches. All the ones that he mainly had known went with Robb or Father south. He had liked the new men well enough, but he missed his old friends like Jory and
Fat Tom.
Yeah. And all
but they're all dead now.
Yeah. But he wonders who will be missing next year and the year after that. And begins to want to cry, but can't because he is the Lord. He's the only Stark he's the current Stark in Winterfell, not the only Rickon.
And with that, the doors slam open, and we go interrupting the episode so we can meet with our small council.
Bye!
What up, and welcome to the small council. I'm Nate.
I had Dr. Pepper in my mouth.
And that's Zach.
They know who we are.
We haven't changed people since the episode started. Still just us. So we like to have the small council where we can give you guys ways to reach us, send out our socials, maybe catch up on some inductees that people are a little late on turning in.
Yeah.
And so I think this week, I did it twice this episode. This episode, since we are reading Bran, we had an old Bran episode have a comment on it where they provided an inductee.
Yeah, this is on YouTube.
This is a YouTube inductee from Amelia, and she says, since you guys already inducted Jon and Ned, who are for sure the heroes of this chapter, which is Bran 1 from Game of Thrones, by the way, she'd induct Bran. What a tough little kid he is, watching a man be beheaded at 7 without freaking out. I'd be traumatized for life. How wonderful it is not to have to live in the Middle Ages.
True.
Valid. Thank you so much for your inductee for that chapter. There's a couple inductees that she's got on other chapters that we're going to intersperse where it makes sense.
Yeah!
Thanks for all your comments over there. We appreciate it. Keep them coming.
Yeah, if you would like to write us in an inductee or just send us your thoughts or feelings, you can reach us many, many ways. I am on Twitter at Carstark92. Nate's on Twitter at Manners Without. That is also the Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at Manners Without. What else do we have?
Facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. We have a website, which is brotherhoodwithout.com.
Oh, yeah, that.
You can rate our podcast at ratethispodcast.com/brotherhood.
We got a Patreon.
Patreon.com/mannerswithout. I know we like to keep those 3 words kind of jumbled, keep you on your toes. We also have our email, which is where we get a lot of our bulkier inductees and comments and questions, and that's withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. But, wherever you want, leave us rates and reviews. We appreciate it. It lets people know who might be interested in our show, whether it's a good one or not. And so, we appreciate it as well.
Let's go meet some of the coolest fucking characters ever.
Hell yeah. So we'll let you get back to Bran 3. Thanks again for writing into us, Amelia. You gonna again? All right.
So
all right, let's go. We're gonna hurry. Run in. You see how I just interrupted you with nothing to say at all? That was fun. Go ahead. Sorry, guys. Zach was being rude, and he deserved to be interrupted. Go ahead. We are at this badass meal, and the doors fly open, and being escorted in are the wonderful
piece of trash. The party don't start till the Reeds walk in, motherfucker. God damn it, we get some house fucking Reed here. Meera and motherfucking Jojen come strutting in through with a gust of cold wind as Alebelly announces them. The Lady Meera of House Reed with her brother Jojen of Greywater Watch.
Badass entry.
Damn.
Who is... have we ever heard the name Alebelly yet? Is that a newer guy?
No, I think he's one of... I think we have heard it, but I think he's one of the newer guys.
Cool. So we don't actually know who he is, just that he's Ale-belly.
Ale-belly.
All right.
Men look up from their cups and kind of eye them suspiciously. Little Walder mutters, frog eaters, and Roderick stands and welcomes them to the hall. Rickon asks who they are, and Little Walder quickly answers, mudmen, thieves, and cravens.
Little cow. Fuck them. Oh, I hate the phrase. Granted, not granted, because it's fuck them. They are very close. The twins are very close to the...
Oh, yeah, many of Frey's got fucked up.
Yeah, by wandering, starting shit. Yeah. And so, hell
yeah. So, I really like the urgency that this scene takes on, because the Reeds walk in, and all of a sudden, Roderick is sort of standing and, welcoming them. Everyone's like, oh, shit, Reeds? what the fuck are they doing here?
During this, Lewin comes over and this is
Bran.
So awesome. And he's like, I never expected them to arrive.
You must greet them warmly. You know who these two are, yes? And Bran says he does. Crannig men from the neck. Howland Reed was a great friend to your father, and these two are his, it would seem. And so Lewin's immediately like, yo, this is your father's besties kids. We need to fucking...
So now I'm going to kind of jump and pull from ahead for a second, but we'll learn that Ned has written to Howland Reed over the years.
Yeah.
But he's never visited, they've never appeared, and, rereaders and full spoiler people know we don't get anything from Howland Reed. It's only rumors and whispers and stories, a lot of which will come directly from these two being introduced now.
Oh, my God.
I loved Lewin's reaction here, where it's just... Holy shit, there's Reeds here. What's happening? Yeah. Something's going on.
So we get their physical. The girl, though near Rob's age, was slim as a boy and dressed in some leather armor, makeshift sort of.
Armed with a net, a knife, a frog spear, and a shield.
Yeah.
Yo, I want to play Meera Reed in Dungeons & Dragons.
Right?
She just sounds like this badass character that's doing cool-ass shit.
Yeah, dude, she immediately... you think of OSHA. You're just this girl can handle herself. And
beside her, Jojen, several years younger, wore no weapons. He was dressed all in green. All his leathers, the light armors he was wearing, even his boots, everything dyed green. And he had, as Zach was telling me earlier, because he could fall right into
moss
them.
green eyes you can just fall right into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God damn it, I love Jojen. So, I mean, if... you're a 4-year-old reading this book, which I don't know why you could get the association here with the green and the green seer. Jojen is meant to... He plays a sage role to Bran at this point. He's to guide him on the next stage. And so the association with green is sort of... While we haven't gotten too much mention of green sight specifically as a term, that's where it's going to start getting brought up here is Jojen and this association of green sight with the Three-Eyed Raven and the others. And so, God, I just love this intro. But they both go and take a knee before the dais, and the girl speaks and says, "My lords of Stark, my lord father has sent us once again to swear the words of fealty for all of our people once again, as they did thousands of years ago." And so they kind of go through it. And
say, she says this, and Bran thinks she's looking at me.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, she's looking at me. But yeah, so now this oath, it's not something I've really seen talked about a lot. I think this oath is fucking incredibly important.
Yes.
More important than I've ever realized.
Do you have the whole thing?
Oh, I've got the whole fucking
cool.
thing.
Yeah,
so, and I think it's important the way it's done. So both of them together say, "To Winterfell we pledge the faith of Greywater. Hearth and heart and harvest we yield up to you, my lord. Our swords and spears and arrows are yours to command. Grant mercy to our weak, help to our helpless, and justice to all, and we shall never fail you." Then Jojen says, "I swear it by earth and water." And then Meera says, "I swear it by bronze and iron." And then again together they say, "We swear it by ice and fire." I feel like that's the oath that the fucking children of the forest and the first men took when they made their deal. Like, I feel like that has a very magical, powerful
this is the oath
impact.
that Howland Reed made to Ned Stark.
Yeah.
This is the pact that was apparently never broken,
now,
you would guess.
And if these two
that
were now
led them
sent
to the Tower of Joy. That led Ned and Howland to end up at the Tower of the Joy with Lyanna. Maybe that's why Howland Reed was there, was this pact, this sworn by ice and fire, which is, oddly enough, the first time we ever get it mentioned in the series.
So I
But most people attribute it with Rhaegar.
Right.
And he must have his own song. His song will be the Song of Ice and Fire.
I'm very curious about the way that each of them kind of took these sides of that element. Jojen specifically says, I swear it by earth and water. And Meera said, I swear it by bronze and iron.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, he's not the bronze and iron.
Well,
he's not going to. And so it's like him saying, I will be your green sight protector, mentor,
and
sage.
She'll be the sword.
I'll be your defender.
Body,
I'll be your guardian.
And that also could play into if this is the pact that was made between the first men and the children. The first men brought bronze and iron and fire.
The children would do it.
And the children were
That's
from the north.
That's what made me think this has to be that pact.
Yeah, this is the one that was made in the God's
by
Eye.
ice and fire.
Yeah.
Like, all of them together. And so, the children are the Jojen. Meera is the first men. But the whole thing, the faith of Greywater to Winterfell, that can be altered. But that last part, just so much encompassed. I feel like this is a very powerful oath right here. We're going to see it again.
Gropes for words. He doesn't know what to say. Their oath was not one he was familiar with, so he doesn't know how to respond. But he tells them, rise, and... may
your winters be short and your summers bountiful. When he thinks that, like, that's a common go-to thing that usually kind of suffices.
So, he bids them rise and introduce, I am Brandon Stark, and Meera gets to her feet and helped her brother up. And the boys stared at Bran all the while. So, I picture... from the second they walk in, Jojen's eyes haven't left Bran.
Absolutely.
And, like, even as he takes a knee, it's still these mossy green eyes looking up at him. And as Meera goes over to help him up, which is sort of to show us Jojen's fickle and frailness. Yeah. And, he's just grilling Bran. And Bran, the boy says that they have brought him gifts of fish and frog and fowl. And Bran wonders if he's going to have to eat a frog now. But he thanks them and offers them all the meat and meat of Winterfell, and tries to recall what
everything
he knows
he can
of the Crannic men,
Yep.
who dwelt in the bogs of the Neck and seldom left their wetlands. You suck.
Sorry.
They were a poor folk, fishers and frog hunters. They lived in houses of thatch and woven reeds on floating isles hidden deep in their swamps. It was said that they were cowards who fought with poisoned weapons and preferred to hide from foes rather than face them in open battle. And yet, Howland Reed had been one of Father's staunchest companions during Robert's rebellion, before Bran was born. And so Jojen kind of looks around curiously and asks, where are the direwolves?
I love it. Holy shit. Just immediately, he knows that Bran should have it by his side, and that it is safe for Bran to have it by its side.
And Rickon tells him, they're in the Godswood. Shaggy was bad. And Meera says, well, my brother would like to see them. And Bran is thrilled that they actually are interested in actively engaging and wanting to see the direwolves, but he's curious about these mudmen. None had ever called at Winterfell, so long as he could recall, and he would like to talk to them more, but the feast kind of picks back up.
Yeah, and they kind of get separated.
So Bran commands some food brought to them, and they seem to like that well enough. And the girl even caught him staring at her and smiled, and he blushed and looked away. So Bran's got a little bit of a crush thing going on.
Yeah,
there.
He does. I thought that was adorbs.
What are you looking up?
I was trying to look for the term for the castles. That Greywater Watch, that is kind of where they're from, is known for kind of vanishing, disappearing.
Yeah.
But it's built on these, there's there's a name for it, but there are these floating islands that kind of can be steered around with sticks and shit, and so it's actually it's not even magical stuff, it's just real things. And so I just wanted to...
It's not magical stuff? Are we sure it's not magical stuff?
It's plausibly based in fact.
Okay.
And so
That's
it
better.
could potentially be non-magical, which is what's fun about Martin's world, is most things could be explained logically. Not that they actually
he grounds it enough in like, even with Melisandre and saying, like,
exactly.
haha, it's all tricks and illusions for the most part.
Mostly. And so it makes it hard to differentiate. I was just trying to look for that damn
Yeah,
name
I
of
get
that,
you.
but I couldn't figure it out.
But later came the dancing. The tables are cleared away and pushed back, and the dancing starts, and the singers start. And Bran watched long enough to be polite, but I didn't really write down the couplings.
There was one or two that I was kind of interested in. The main one was the first one. Lord Too Fat to Sit Her Horse, Sir Manderley, scooped up Bethany, Roderick's daughter, the little girl.
And
just
he's surprisingly graceful.
Surprisingly graceful. And so I just thought that's very interesting that, he's this big, fat, slow, but still likable, and a very elegant guy.
And
that's
he's dancing
courteous
with the little girl, to give her a dance
exactly.
and make her feel
and
like a
then he
little
gets
lady.
interrupted by, I think it was like Joseph, the master.
Well, it
of
said when he
horses
was
or
too
something.
tired,
right.
He's graceful, but he doesn't got a lot of stamina. This guy.
But
the other one I noted was that Roderick approached Lady Hornwood,
yeah.
and she declined him.
Which is, I think, just the not wanting to dance.
Because she's fucking and facing impending doom of everything. Yeah, no shit.
And he's the one that
she came to for help and denied her. Yeah. Yeah. But Bran watched for long enough to be polite and then decides he wants out. So he summons Hodor to come and get him.
Hodor.
And Bran could feel the stairs again as he was loaded into the basket, but he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but they took the back way. I noticed that they don't give a he doesn't give a shit. But they still took the back way out so that he didn't have to
avoid
deal
walking the length of the hall, yeah.
It's so, yes, he's over it. Good on you, man. It's hard to fucking do and overcome that kind of scrutiny, especially when you're the Lord.
But it is still affecting him. He's still going out of his way to avoid.
Right.
And as they leave out the rear exit, they come upon Joseph and a woman pushed up against the wall, and they're going at it.
And Hodor
stops to watch.
It's strange that we would harp so hard on how creepy and awkward this is when Baelish does it to Sansa.
It's not creepy to me.
This
is Hodor being curious.
He doesn't understand what it is.
This isn't it's meant to be, and
it looks to anybody, especially to the girl who freaks out when she realizes Hodor's standing there watching. Yeah, it looks awful.
But to me, it's more to highlight what Bran understands what this is, and Hodor. Come on, let's go. We got to leave them. Don't fucking watch them. Bran has to explain.
Which is almost funny because he made the comment earlier when Osha was not smashed the flagon over the guy's head for getting handsy. He says, although he didn't quite get it because Mikken was down doing it, and that girl didn't seem to have any problem with him.
Yeah, Mikken had his hand down up some.
And so he didn't quite get the difference there, why it was one way or the other. But this, he kind of has an idea.
What's so beautiful about it is Bran the child is having to explain as an adult, don't watch them have sex. I don't quite understand why they're having sex or what it does either, but
it'll get you thrown out of a window, so stop.
He's the Lord here, he's smarter than Rickon or Hodor is, and that's kind of the position he's thrown in, is he's got to be the Lord here and make these decisions when he doesn't really understand what he's looking at himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he goes up after the girl freaks out, and Hodor brings him to his room. And he even says, Hodor, you can go back to the party.
Yeah.
Don't stop and bother Joseph or that woman anymore. Just go dance for the rest of the night till you're tired.
Yeah, Bran undresses and gets into bed, and as he blows out the candle, the darkness covers over him like a soft blanket. Familiar blanket. And suddenly, something his father once said came back to him. Bran had asked him if the Kingsguard were truly the finest knights in the Seven Kingdoms, and Ned had replied, no longer, but they were once a shining lesson to all the world. And Bran had asked him, was there one who was best of all?
Oh, yes, sir, Bob.
Yes, Sir Bob. The finest knight I ever saw was Sir Arthur Dane. They called him the Sword of the Morning, and he fought with a blade called Dawn, forged from a meteor. Or the heart of a comet, is it? Heart of a comet.
But
he would have killed me, but for Howland Reed. And father had gotten sad then and said no more, and Bran wished he could have asked him.
So...
Smash my face into the fucking table.
My first question, and I don't mean to always do it this way, but do you think it's going to play out like it did in the show? Do you think Howland stabbed him in the back?
I'm a bigger cunt than I realized, because that was one of my biggest issues with the show, was, like, they took that liberty. Because I was always like, yo, like, that's not how Howland helped Ned, like, But obviously, because I did not recall that little detail right there, that Ned straight up said he would have been killed by Arthur Dayne if it wasn't for Howland Reed. I don't know where the fuck that escaped my psyche, but it did. So... Similar, yes, I do think it will play out. I don't think it's going to be that exact scenario,
like
but,
but
I think it's deeper than just that as well, with this pact that we just got, and Jon Snow stuff, and all the good stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely
think there's more to it than just
like talk about the fucking Sword of the Morning, Howland Reed, and Ned Stark, like, at this fucking... like, I need it hard-lined into my fucking veins, like I've never needed anything in my life.
What's really interesting is, regardless of how it plays out, whether it's exactly how it is, if it's slightly different, this is Ned years later still saying how great of a person and knight Arthur Dayne is.
That was another of my issues with the show, was that, they nailed the sword, like the choreography of that sword fight at the Tower of Joy.
Outstanding.
Holy
Have you seen it with lightsabers?
Yes.
Just as fucking awesome.
I still watch it today and am blown away by it. So they nailed Arthur Dayne as the swordsman, but... we don't get the Ashara Dayne stuff in the show.
Right.
We don't get Ned returning Dawn.
Right.
We don't get is Ashara Dayne Jon Snow's father
or
mother in the show.
Does he send Jon Snow to Old Town first, and then from there to White Harbor while he goes to where the fuck is it? Ashara Dayne's home.
And there's even some questions of like why the fuck was Sir Arthur Dayne down there in the first place, protecting the prince. There's some odd questions about it, but like, fuck me sideways.
Good stuff.
If it's not like three of the most interesting, and like that's what's the best thing about Ned is even when, with a Game of Thrones we get pretty much his life and what we need to know about him besides for the big secret that's hinging everything, which we assume we know at this point, and so. There's still more, though, like the Tower of Joy scene. Like, I need to see that as it happened. Not as Ned remembers it in fever dreams, but, like, I want to see Bran seeing it and get the actual what the fuck was said between Arthur Dayne and Ned Stark and Howland Reed. And so Bran falls asleep.
Yeah.
And he was in the Godswood. His brother was close behind him. He could smell the feast and hear it.
So vividly, it's like he never left. So I like how quick the two become one.
Yep.
Just immediately he goes from my brother, which is Shaggy Dog, the wolf, but at the same time, it very well could be, and I do think at this point, Rickon as well.
Yeah.
I think that it is all four of them in there now.
The feast was making him restless. He wanted to run and hunt, and... clearly so did Shaggy Dog, and some rattling iron sends them both bounding off. And I just wrote the one quote here, which was, across the still water at the foot of the Old White One, which is what they call the weirwood tree.
The Old White One.
Like, the Old White One assumes some sort of sentience, some sort of, like, elder almost.
So, and it's, I don't know, it's almost strangely... the comparison to how, I don't know, the Old White One just makes me think of the leader of the others. Like this entity that's, I don't know, that's creepy.
The Old White One.
The Old White One.
But they run up, and the intruders show no fear, even as he bares his teeth and snarls at them. There was a female and a young male, and some part of him whispers, Meera.
Meera.
And, it was some wisp of the sleeping boy who was lost in the wolf dream. And so, we definitely now are getting the sort of meld that Bran forgets himself a little bit. The boy lost in the wolf dream.
But at the same time, it's Summer is kind of more at the forefront here, and so it's strange seeing who's in control at the moment.
But the boy watched them unafraid, and he says, "The black one is full of fear and rage, but the gray one is strong, stronger than he knows. Can you feel him, sister?"
Jojen knows Bran. That's him saying Bran
obviously
is in there. And so because we don't know that, well, full spoiler, Meera doesn't have nearly the connection to this kind of power, the green sight, the warging. And
she's Jojen's defender.
And so it's almost funny that he's asking her that, because he knows that she probably doesn't. But he can, and that's just Martin's way of letting us.
Maybe that's what he's saying. Is that's how powerful Bran is.
Yeah,
can you feel him in his Godswood of his home, like next to his great old one? Can you feel him here? And I think he's also saying, Rickon, and then like getting back to your Rickon question, the black one is full of fear and rage. And that describes Rickon pretty good. He's afraid because everyone left him, and he's angry because everyone left him. He refuses to let anyone cut his hair since Mother left. Yeah. Like, he's pitching a fit about it, and so is Shaggy Dog. And so, one, Jojen clearly knows they're there, and then two, just what power is it Bran is radiating. And Meera tells him to be careful as he begins approaching. But
he won't hurt me. This is not the day I die.
Jojen paste?
Jojen paste. So I'm pretty sure well known that Jojen has seen his death and knows when he's going to die. Yeah. So that's what he's referencing here, basically, in his very first appearance.
Yeah, so he walks towards them and reaches out for Summer's muzzle. A light touch, and yet at that touch, the wood dissolved, and the ground turned to smoke and swirled away laughing, and he was spinning and falling. So the fuck happened? Why did Jojen touching him?
Now I've been kind of swirling that around in my head as much as the smoke that was beneath his feet. I don't know if it was him kind of severing the warging, sending Bran to sleep, because I know Bran has also been a little upset that it's been very restless doing this warging constantly. So maybe Jojen was finally kind of severing that, setting him at ease for a little bit, so that he can get to know the wolf. Yeah. And not the boy. Not the boy at the moment.
Could be, yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if it's just because I don't think it's sinister. Not from Jojen.
No, not at all.
You know, whatever the three-eyed raven might be or become, or what Bran may become, Jojen's intentions, I think, are either if it does lead to bad stuff for Bran, they're just misguided.
I project Howland Reed's intentions, which I believe are entirely pure, and he's Ned Stark's bestie till the endy. And I believe he's projected those onto his kids. So I believe that the dedication that they eventually vocalize toward Bran is truthful. I agree that I don't think any unintended consequences that happen are intentional for Jojen. I think Jojen sees Bran as this powerful being that needs to be somewhere for some critical reason, and he wants to do everything he can to help him. And so, I could even see it being, hey, he's given him a green dream. He's given him a vision. This is what I've seen to lead me here, type of thing. But who knows? But with that, you got an inductee.
So I want to cheat and just induct a house. I don't think I'm going to do that because that doesn't seem very fair. And so instead, because the obvious choices are there. But I don't think that I just want to go with the obvious choice. Do you have one already?
Yeah.
You go with yours first.
Surprisingly, and it's not. I'm not going with the read. I'm giving mine to Bran. Okay. But because of Jojen's line, the gray is stronger than he knows. That was like, oh shit. There is like, it's, to me, Bran is the John Locke of law. Like he is special. He is the chosen one. There is something to this kid that is different. Jojen has power. Jojen can do stuff, but Bran is more powerful. Bran is emanating power. Yeah. So, I really like that. So as much as I want to induct every single read that exists, I'll just give it to Bran because of that line.
Okay, then I am going to go a little off course then and not do just house read like I wanted to. And I'm going to induct, again, I think, because we did it recently, one of us, but Lord Manderley Wyman. Because Bran likes him. Like, he during all this time, it's just good to see that, with the way that I'm a huge shipper of the GNC. I believe a lot of what's going on there is great news. And a lot of it, I think, is orchestrated by him. And he's been this pure guy from the start to the Starks. And so just to see him being this big, jovial guy, taking the little girl out for a courtesy dance, like, you get some fun. I'm too fat to dance with the young girls that I'd like to marry and be gross with because I'm that kind of a lord, but I'm going to go with him because I think he's showing proper courtesies, and he does have that. Like, we see the fucking dope-ass oath and pledge that was just given by House Reed. I think that next to them, he's one of the staunchest allies for them, so I'm going to give it to him.
Word. Lord Too Fat to Sit a Horse.
Too fat to sit a horse.
So, we did get an inductee from our favorite French fry, Julian.
Woo, woo!
And this was another flight read. And, so first things first, you said you've eaten a frog?
Yeah, so don't worry, Julian, don't worry about it. Frog isn't the worst thing ever, but we're not just going to assume because you're French that you enjoy or have ever eaten frog.
I've never had a frog. I've never tried it.
It's not that
I
big
would
a
try
deal.
it. I'd be down to try it. I'm not.
We're pretty open-minded people, but so don't worry, no judgment there, guy. You're fine.
You said it was a very short chapter whose goal you sense was to introduce us to the Reed family. Learning that Howland saved Ned from Arthur Dane, good stuff for me. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I hope the excitement in my voice was clear. And we get introduced to Jojen and Meera. My inductee is going to be Bran. He is excellent at his lord duties, doesn't give a shit any longer about the staring, and I feel for him being torn between being the sad kid who has to grow up missing peace and his family and having to face adult responsibilities at such a young age. Valar Frog Harris, Julian.
Thanks, Julian.
Thank you, sir. Bran, I inducted Bran as well. So for two entirely different reasons, which is, I think, speaks to Martin's writing that, you can feel sympathy for this kid and be excited about how much power he supposedly has, which is a really interesting dynamic for this broken lord, which, god damn it, Bran chapters are just so good. Yeah. So those are our thoughts on Bran. What was this, Bran 3?
Bran 3. As always, you can get us your inductees. We gave our socials in the small council.
Yeah!
Get those to us as soon as possible. We'll be next reading Catelyn 2 from Clash of Kings. The 22nd chapter of Clash of Kings, I believe.
Yeah.
After that, we'll be doing Jon 3, then Theon 2.
Then Dany, I think.
And then Dany, I think you're right, Dany 2.
Yeah, get us those Catelyn 2 and Jon 3 inductees, and we will catch you guys on the flip-flop.
Bella de Harris.
Peace.